Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be unpacking a seriously fascinating perspective on leadership, motivation, and reaching spiritual goals. When we think of leadership today, or really any kind of advancement, our minds usually jump straight to ambition, right? Climbing the ladder, getting status, asserting authority, the whole shebang. But the source material we're looking at today, it completely flips that idea on its head. We're exploring a framework where true advancement literally has nothing to do with power. It is entirely about love and humble service. It's a total paradigm shift, and I'm really excited to break down exactly how this text lays it all out for us. The absolute bedrock of this entire philosophy is right here. 1 Corinthians 16:14, which simply says, "Let everything you do be done with love." The source uses this not just as, a nice motivational thought, but as the absolute governing principle for every single action. Notice the word everything there. In this framework, love isn't just some warm, fuzzy feeling. It's the engine. It's the fundamental driving force behind every decision, every action, and every goal you pursue. Setting this baseline immediately kicks selfish ambition right out the door. Section 1. Jesus, the greatest example, and a model of motivation. So let's see what this actually looks like in practice. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the text breaks down Jesus' motivation into two very distinct categories. According to the source, he was motivated first and foremost by love for his Father, and secondly, by love for people. It's an incredibly focused, outward-looking mindset. He absolutely wasn't driven by some desire to build a personal legacy or rack up status points or have people serve him. No way. His engine was completely fueled by these two loves. And, as we'll see, having this specific type of outward motivation leads to a very specific type of action. And here's the direct result. Because Jesus was motivated by love, it naturally led to hard work and performing humble tasks for others. The source points us straight to scriptures like Matthew 20:28 and John 13:5, 14, and 15 to back this up. Just think about that for a second. The ultimate example of leadership in this text isn't about sitting on a throne barking orders. It's about willingly taking on the absolute lowest, most humble jobs just to serve other people. In this context, true love always results in humble service. It is a roll-up-your-sleeves, active kind of love. That brings us to a really fascinating turning point in the text. Section 2, the dichotomy, the world versus the congregation. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast the text is making. On one side, we have the world, basically general secular society, where people who constantly promote themselves are admired, they're rewarded. Self-promotion is seen as a totally positive trait. But then, look at the other side. Within Jehovah's organization, the source explains that a brother motivated by love actively rejects that whole worldly mindset. There's literally no craving for power, no desire for authority over others, and zero reaching for status. It is a complete departure from how the secular world measures success. So here's the crucial question. Why is worldly ambition seen as so dangerous in a spiritual setting? Ask yourself, what actually happens if an ambitious person, someone who's secretly craving power and status, gets appointed to a position of responsibility? Take a second to really think about the natural consequences of elevating someone whose main driver is their own ego instead of love. Well, the text gives us a very clear and honestly quite serious answer to that. If an ambitious person gets appointed, the text warns they'd likely refuse to do those necessary, humble tasks, looking at those jobs as somehow beneath them. And the ultimate tragedy here, which the text backs up with John 10:12, is that this selfish ambition leads directly to the neglect of what it calls Jehovah's precious sheep. When a leader is only thinking about themselves, the very people they're supposed to be caring for are the ones left suffering. That's exactly why ambition is viewed as so highly destructive here. Let's move to and see how this builds into our final segment. Section 3, reaching spiritual goals, applying the principles today. How do Christian men, referred to as brothers in our text, actually apply this to their own spiritual advancement? The text highlights a very specific role, becoming a ministerial servant. This is defined as a spiritual goal within the congregation. But here is the absolute key point. Referencing 1 Peter 5:5, the text makes it crystal clear that brothers qualify for this goal not by campaigning for it or, showing off their flashy leadership skills. They qualify by actively demonstrating that exact same love and humility we saw in Jesus. It's a goal you can genuinely only reach through humble service. The qualification itself is the proof of a humble, loving motivation. Which brings us to the core promise of the source material. If you are motivated by love, Jehovah will bless you and help you reach those spiritual goals. The mechanism for success here isn't networking, it isn't self-promotion, it's 100% about having the right heart condition. The text argues that when your motivation is genuinely rooted in love for God and love for people, well, that's when the true spiritual blessings follow. The motivation absolutely has to come first, and the appointment? It's just a natural byproduct of that genuine love. To wrap all of this up, the major takeaway from our explainer today is right here. True spiritual leadership is intrinsically driven by love and humble service. It fundamentally rejects worldly ambition and that constant craving for status. It's a challenging standard, sure, but a deeply beautiful one that puts the care of others way above the advancement of the self. So, what drives your goals? Is it a desire for status or a desire to humbly serve? Definitely something to think about. For more information, please visit jw.org. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the notification for new explainers. Thanks!